Okay. All right. So, without further ado, Chris.
Great, thanks. Well, thanks for having me today. And I'm Chris Edwards. I'm one of the mentors in the group. And just for some quick background, I'm a lawyer, work with venture capital firms, work in Midtown Manhattan, and also a member of a large angel investment group, HBS Angels, Alumni Angels of Greater New York. And here to talk today about angel and venture capital funding. Three things. First, what the typical path is, so you can decide if it's a path you want to go down with your company. Second thing is what to do if you want to get it. And the third thing is what not to do if you want to get it. And for some background as well, working in Midtown Manhattan, but I'm here a lot of time for family. And so one thing I do for my angel group is organize pitch nights for it, or startup showcases. And we've organized some for the University of Pennsylvania, Wharton, Harvard alumni. We had one recently from Atlanta to Raleigh. And what we found in the startup showcases is Greenville dominated. It crushed the competition at the last startup showcase. 4 of the 6 companies that got to the finals were from Greenville. And it's a very demanding angel investor group. But what I learned from that is Greenville has a lot of talent. And if you're here in this room today, and if you're founding a company locally, you can do great. You can do just as well as anybody in Silicon Valley, anybody from Wharton. Greenville has a lot of success, and you can be part of that, definitely. And so starting with the first point today about what the typical path for a venture capital-backed company is, so you can see if you want to go down that path. What it is basically is several years of quick growth. And at the stage where you are now, you typically start out by getting some grants. To the extent they're available, they can be taxable. They can be taxed from the government, but they're available sometimes. You get friends and family to invest in the company, or you can fund the company yourself, treat it as a loan or as equity. But once your company starts getting traction, starts getting ready to take off, that's when the VC path starts. And typically, you get VC financing, and venture capital, it's called VC for short. Basically, every 2 years is about the average. You raise funds from VCs or other angel investors, and starting off when you have customer traction, that's your Series seed round. That's usually the first investment round. And at that time, you sell something called a SAFE, a simple agreement for future equity. That's the most common. But then once you have, and what are VCs looking for? Looking for quickly growing revenues. That's when you start getting your Series A round, and you sell preferred stock. I'll go into what it is in a few minutes. But every couple of years, you go from the Series seed round, which is you're basically planting seeds for the company, Series A, B, C, or et cetera. And what the VCs are looking for is an M&A. They're looking to sell the company in about 17 years, roughly. And so the path for you as a founder, if you take in VC funds, is over time, your ownership percentage goes down. Even if you have 100% now, by the time of the Series C round, a typical CEO owns 7 to 13% of the company. And over time, the investor's percentage of the company goes up. And by percentage of the company, that's the percentage of shares they own. And after the Series A round, after the first large round, typically the founders own less than half. And after the Series A, the investors start owning more than half. And what the investors also get, once you start selling preferred stock, is board seats, and they get to veto big company actions. So over time, you as a founder, you'll lose control of your company, but the investors will gain more control of the company, and you're hoping for an exit, and you're hoping for quick growth throughout the process. So if you're looking for quick growth, and I'll go into more into that in a second, then VC funding may be a path for you. And the important thing to keep in mind too is kind of the end result, or the end of the tunnel here. That's the company's sale of 7 to 10 years. And the critical thing here is that the way VCs invest, I don't want to say that heads up, they win, tails up, you lose. But the investment documents are written so that when the company is sold, the investors get paid first. And they get paid at least their investment back first, and they can pay more than that as well. So let's say if you sell your company for $100 million in 10 years, if you own 10% of that, that doesn't necessarily mean you get $10 million. What it means is if the company's been growing really quickly from round to round and from round to a sale, then you can make 10% of the company, you can make $10 million. But if your company is flat, if it's not growing really quickly, and the valuation doesn't keep growing up and up and up, even if you own a big portion of the company, you may get paid zero. So now, I would remember this is be really careful in giving out shares to people, be very careful in giving out equity, and be really careful in giving out preferences to investors, because they're going to get paid first, no matter what. Just don't give too much of that out. And to run through what some of the things I've talked about are, first one is a safe. From an investor's perspective, I call it an unsafe, because what it is an IOU. Basically, it says, hey, investor, give me the money. When I sell preferred stock, we'll take this piece of paper called a safe, a simple agreement for future equity, and we'll convert it into stock. And if I sell the company, we'll get paid first. So it's an IOU. And so if you never sell the company, if you never sell stock, then you run the lottery there because you never have to do anything, just a piece of paper. But after the Series C round, and when you start doing the Series A, B, and C, when a company's growing really fast, when you sell preferred stock, what that is an ownership stake in your company by the investors. Like I say, if you sell the company, investors get paid first. They usually get a board seat, or at least several board seats when you sell preferred stock. And for you as a founder, the thing to keep in mind too is once investors start buying preferred stock, that's when they start getting all sorts of rights. And for example, let's say you can't sell your stock unless you offer it to us first. And I'll also say, hey, founder, we're going to make your stock subject to vesting. And you have to keep working with the company for maybe 3 or 4 years or so. Otherwise, we can buy your stock back when you leave. Founders don't like that, but that's just how the game is played. And so the overall view of this, the types of investment, SAFE is an IOU, very few rights for investors. Preferred stock, they get more and more rights. They get more and more veto rights. Basically say so to big company decisions. That's just how the game typically works. And so that's the path of venture capital funding. Starts off with friends and family, with you funding it, grants and the like. Then you take in institutional money from VCs, but they're looking for quick growth and really quick growth in the company's valuation. They're looking for a rocket ship. If you have a profitable company that's maybe growing 5% a year, that's great, but VCs aren't going to invest in it. So if you want VC funding, be sure that your company's going to grow like a rocket ship, like take off like that. And if you look at it one way, VCs, they lose so much, that's where they're looking for quick growth. And so how do you get VC funding for moving on to part 2? Well, there are things that VCs are looking for. They're looking for a market, a moat, and a team. And in addition to quick growth. And so for the market they're looking for quickly growing companies with quickly growing revenues. And that's basically proof there's a market out there. And it has to be very quickly growing, like 10% per year is not really enough for a VC. It used to be maybe doubling every year of a life. Second thing they're looking for is a moat. And what that means is you have some kind of competitive advantage that other people can't take away from you. That often means something like a patent or intellectual property. It often means something like a big database with a lot of customer data in there. Often looks like something like customer contracts that are kind of locked with your company. So the moat is something that keeps your competitors away. But anything that is something that someone can pay to copy is not a competitive advantage. Like if I'm thinking, hey, I'm Percent Words, I've been a lawyer for so long, I know what lawyers you need, I have this great software idea. That's not a competitive advantage because somebody can do the same thing I'm doing. It has to be something that somebody cannot pay to copy to be your competitive advantage. And the third thing they're looking for is a team. And you can be a solo founder and get VC financing, definitely. About 1/6 of VC-backed companies do have one founder. But what they're really looking for is a whole herd of people to do everything to take the company from where it is today up till basically taking over the world. And they're looking for a great CEO, they're looking for a great marketing person, a great software person. That's if you're a software company. You have to show the investors that you have the whole team that not only do you have a market, quickly growing revenues, a moat, a competitive advantage, but also you're the person and you're the team that can beat out everybody else and get this done. And the other thing to do if you want VC funding is simply be selling the right thing at the right time. And these days, the software is always doing very well in VC. Artificial intelligence is huge. That's where most of the money is going these days. Hardware sometimes. Any new technology that's growing fast is VC backable. There are funds that do everything, like direct consumer sales of consumer products. That definitely happens as well. But most of it is any kind of new technology that's growing quickly, or software that can be rolled out quickly. And what I tell my clients that I work with, no matter what your company's name, add the word AI at the end of it. That'll make it much more valuable. And if you're not a software company, or if you are a software company, add a dog somewhere. Like, so if you have a dog and AI, you're going to do great. Like, seriously, there's a company called Wolf. It's software to track your dog's health and stuff. It's going to take over the world. And so, but software most, dog second, but really, I joke a little bit, but that's, I mean, software is really the most critical for the money spent these days. But there are a lot of others. It just may take finding a certain fund that can match with what you're doing to get VC funding. And so we talked about the path of VC and what to do if you want to get it. And the third thing I'll talk about is what not to do if you want to not mess up your chances of getting VC funding. And there are a couple of things here. I'm going to sit around the desk with more details about this, but a couple of categories of things to watch out for. And none of these are earth-shattering things, really. If you have, advisors or lawyers or something, they'll walk you through this. None of this is something to really worry about, but just things to keep in mind as you grow your company. The first thing is when you grant stock to people, grant options. First, have a cap table. You can have a spreadsheet in Excel, people do it that way. But if I were founding a company, I would sign up for Carta. That's where you're going to end up anyway. And Carta is free until you raise $1 million or so. It's called Carta Launch. So if you get Carta, you have a clean cap table. It saves all the hassle of having to move to it later on. I would do that. Second thing is, when you give out stock, don't throw around, if you promise something like, hey, I'll give you 5% of the company, I'll give you 10% of the company, that's fine, but to have a clean cap table, you need to have a document that shows share numbers on there. And when you go to somebody and say, hey, I'll give you 5% of the company, give them a document that'll say, hey, I acknowledge I have this many shares, and that's all I'm going to get. Percentages can get confusing. Just be sure that you document it with a stock certificate and a stock purchase agreement or something. Any lawyer can tell you how to do this. The third thing is, this may apply to people who are founding a company right now, is the longer you wait to give out stock to people, the bigger the tax bill. And so if you founded a company, and let's say if you promised, hey, I'll give you 5% of the company, but you don't do anything about it, and you wait 2 or 3 years till your funding round comes in, the tax bill is going to grow a lot. This applies to you too. So give out shares to yourself, if you haven't done already, like today, and give out shares immediately when you promise them to people. Otherwise, there's going to be a big tax bill, and people aren't going to be happy. So those are the first 3 things about stock. Another thing to do too is anybody who works for the company, including yourself, make sure they sign some intellectual property assignment agreement. This isn't rocket science either. It's simply an agreement that anybody who works for the company should be signing something that says, hey, whatever I make for the company belongs to the company. Because if somebody develops like an app for you or software for you, then they run off and you receive it again, and you want your investment round, the investor's going to say, hey, do you own this software? And you'll have to say no. And the person may not want to sign something then. So anybody who's working for you today, give them to sign an IP assignment agreement. And I have a link to one in the deck I'll send around, but I would do that today. The next thing is follow securities laws. The big picture there is when you're raising funds, don't post about it on LinkedIn, don't put it on your company website unless you talk to counsel about it. The next thing is when you're raising capital, being careful in who you work with. There's a lot of people out there who will say, hey, I'll find investors for you. Just give me 5% of whatever you raise from them. If they do that, if basically you're paying somebody based on investment amounts raised, you have to register with the SEC. There's some exceptions, like everything I've said, there's some exceptions to it, but that's the thing to watch out for. If somebody's saying, pay me to find investors for you, just be careful about how you pay them. The next couple of things are have a stockholders agreement or an operating agreement. If you're one person and you're the sole owner, you don't really need one, but if you have multiple owners, you do. And don't go crazy with some encyclopedia of founders agreement. I don't give all these permanent rights to people or veto rights to people, all these. Just have a normal, relatively short agreement as your operating agreement or stockholder agreement. That will save you headaches in the future. And final couple things are, when you take on investors, try to stay within the norms of what you give them for rights. If an investor says, hey, I want a permanent right to 2% of your company, anything permanent is the kind of thing to watch out for. And if an investor says, hey, if you ever sell your company, I want to be able to approve that, any veto right by an investor can be tricky. So if you give rights to investors earlier on that are pretty aggressive, that can come back to harm you in the future. And the final 2 things are, for the board of directors, just be careful in giving out board seats. And the big picture in a company is the stockholders, meaning you as the owner or the other investors, they appoint the board, and the board appoints the CEO and the other officers. So the pitch about a board is that if you're the CEO, the board can typically fire you. So that's why you want to control your board. And the board also approves the big decisions, but your job can depend on the board being under your control. And the final thing is just pay attention to regulations. For example, always file taxes. If you take in customer data, just be sure that you have a privacy policy and the like. But none of these things are rocket science. They're just things that we see happen that can cause problems when you're raising funds. So I'm going to send out the deck later on today, and it has all sorts of resources that will hopefully make this easier for you. For example, as a link to Stripe Atlas, if I were founding a company, I would use Stripe Atlas to start with documents because they're good documents. They can do LLCs and corporations. It saves legal fees. And I'm a lawyer telling you how to save legal fees, so that's worth something. There are all sorts of, Carta is the great database of all this information about how to do deals. A couple of events I'll list on there, like Tech Week in New York. If you want to fly to New York for the week, that's a good thing to do. Then Tech Week San Francisco, Venture Atlanta, be good too. And some self-promotion. I'll link to my intergroups on there as well. When you're looking for funding, people come to us. So thanks for listening to my three-part overview of VC. Hope that works for you. Happy to answer any questions as well.
All right.
Is it, you know, when you talk about the board members and stuff like that, and the VCs are going to be able to say, hey, we're on your board. If they're successful VCs, you shouldn't be concerned about them, right? Like that, it's like, well, who are these guys? They're not going to have, you know, are they just rich lunatics, or are they?
Some of them are.
Yeah, that's so right. So not you. I was not thinking about you. So what's the, like? So you try to limit that, or I don't.
Well, big picture, at least if you're doing it at the Series C, Series A round, or at least even up to a Series B, you should be able to take a majority of the board seats. Because a few companies that a founder makes, it's your company. Like, you're the one who's putting in sweat and tears every day on it. It's your money going into it originally. It's your company. And if anybody wants to be in control of your company, my view is they got to pay for it. And so if they're putting in a lot of money, let's say they're buying a fourth of the company in a Series A round, maybe they get one of the 4 seats then. But do whatever you can to keep control of the board, meaning you can force people, it's called a voting agreement, you can force people to have to vote for you and your friends as directors. Be sure to try to keep the majority of the seats yours, at least in the Series A or B. And the point about VCs and being rich lunatics, they are, some of them, I've been in meetings with them, they're 95%, 98% are great, helpful, good people, but there's that 2%. Definitely due diligence in your VCs. Definitely ask around other founders, like, hey, what was your experience with this person? And ask to find, like, what companies you invested in, ask them for references. And when I'm on the VC side, they want good deals. Like, they're not these dictators who just dictate what they want. They view you as a talented person. They want to be on your deal. They want to ship people out. You have leverage. So definitely, try to keep control of the board. Do your diligence on them.
Yeah, it's funny because only till now in this conversation did I realize, as you're presenting your ideas to VCs, it's an interview like on a job too. Do I want to be here with you too? So it is two-way, right? But I only see that now.
You're taking on a business partner.
Yeah.
When you give someone a board seat and all that kind of stuff, yeah.
And are you taking on an individual or a corporation or entity or a family that it could be the next generation that takes over? Maybe you got along with one person, you're not getting along with the next person. I've seen people removed from roles because children took over.
Pretty old over there.
When you're talking equity in an early stage company for others, are you thinking fully diluted values or?
That's what the VC is going to look for. Like, they're going to want to buy 20% to 30% of a Series A. That's fully diluted. And what they do to you, to this game they play, is called an option pull shuffle. I'm going to go into the details about the math behind it. Basically, the VCs are going to use, I don't want to call them tricks because that's how the game's played, but they're going to be looking for a fully diluted percentage, and that's typically what I do those too. Because at some point, this is all going to be burned in stock. Great, thanks everybody.
All right. All right, so once again, we have technical difficulties out there for using the top. Thanks to Chris. His deck will be posted up into the community, so anybody can kind of review that, take a look at it. I've got a copy of it. Does anybody else have any other questions before we go into listening to people pitch about the company?
If you guys thought this is a good time, that speech you just gave, a mid-level partner at Wilson Sonsini would charge $1,500 an hour for that. Like, really.
So in the Slack group that I belong to for Founder U, and we're going to put one in our community, is one for VC questions or VC intros. Basically on the Slack group, basically anybody that's talking to a VC in negotiations, looking for information, they'll post it in there, and then anybody out of their 3,000 some odd people that are in that community will give some insights, so that what they look for, what they don't look for, you know, hot things that they are red flags for them, things that they look for in the founders. So we're going to do the same thing. So for those of you who are talking to people, you owe it to the people you're going through this community with to give some feedback. Hey, I talked to either this angel investor, I talked to this VC firm, I talked to this family office, this is the insight that I gained. That way, from us collectively, we'll be as a community be able to help everybody else do that. That's one of the things that doesn't exist here in this market that we're trying to solve. All right, so before I start picking people, who wants to volunteer to go through the deck first? Okay. Yes, so Stripe Atlas that was brought up. So I did, Tax Titans was originally registered by Nelson Mullins. Those of you who know me know what that experience was like. The second one, Secondhand Geek, that was done through Delaware C using my buddy Hal. And then Replay Coaching was done using Stripe Atlas. Stripe Atlas is great. You go through all the stuff. The 83B election and everything, this stuff is on there. You can do all that, register all the things that you need, so that's all there. All right.
Quick note, if you
Yes.
are part of the Ignite program, we'll handle all that for you, so don't
Correct.
worry about it.
So as you're going through, if you haven't talked to Dan, part of the Ignite program is all of the legal stuff to get you up and running. The Ignite program basically provides you with that back office help to make that as seamless and as cost effective as possible. So, alrighty. Lewis,
Yes, sir.
come on up here. Talk about your product. You're going to do your pitch.
Do I gotta go up there? Because I gotta read.
You can bring it with you. You can bring it.
Hopefully the battery.
All right. Lewis.
So it's not a real deck, because I wrote something.
Okay,
and
that's
then-
fine. This is all practice. This is why it's here.
And then Blake said, "Who goes next?"
Okay. Okay. So then, like, before I get walked off the plank.
So my system is for tax preparers. So I'm creating a management reporting system for service bureaus, which are companies that own other tax businesses, electronic return originators, EROs, and it's going to analyze their businesses year over year. So the data is collected through a simple point of sale and CRM system. It's utilized by the registered tax preparers and the taxpayers. So what does it do? A tax client, taxpayer, will use a mobile app to register themselves and take pictures of their tax documents and send it to their tax preparer. The tax preparer will then prepare the returns and create an invoice, send it to the taxpayer, he pays it. So what that does though is it automatically creates a CRM, you have all the client's information, and you have sale history. Year over year, you're gonna know what this person pays. And the reporting, because I'm sorry I'm having a problem explaining this, because I designed it for one way, and then the service bureau said, no, we want it like this. So year over year, you're gonna say this tax client, he was 300, 325, 375, that kind of stuff. The service bureaus look at that and they say, okay, he was a bank product, which I don't want to get into too much detail, but we made X amount of money on him, but also we make money on the back end through these bank products that we sell. And they need that to report. So currently there's no system out there that does this, none whatsoever. I've been in the business 21 years. I wrote a system for one company and it's a monster. So we're trying to make a simple system for this. Now my deck, it's needed obviously because it doesn't exist. But who's my clients? There's 716,000 registered pizzas, and I foiled that information. Out of that, if I take out anyone with the name Block or Liberty, it's 600,000 potential clients that we can sell this product to.
In South Carolina, there's 8,000, North Carolina 16,000, and Georgia 24,000. And there is no existing products that compete with us. That's my density.
Okay, so question I
Great.
asked, so what would somebody pay and why would they pay to have this app?
So that's a very good question. And the reason I'm not really prepared yet is because I've been trying to coordinate with my team, and they've been ditching me for personal reasons, but this is the week I'm trying to get them. When we've pitched my current app through my company, RNG Brennan Tax Preparers, that's the first question that the tax companies were asking us: how are you going to pay for this? So if you do bank products, it gets buried in the back end, and the clients don't even know that they're paying for it. So you're looking at maybe $5 every time they do a bank product, and then there's add-ons and stuff like that. So it's anywhere from like $5 to you can do $50 a client, that kind of thing. But if they're not doing bank products, how do we sell a product? So if there's no bank products and there's no burying in the back end, I don't know how to price it.
Okay.
And with a simple, you're not going to be able to sell this product to a CPA because they think they know everything. You work with them. They know their client base. They don't care year over year. But if you have one tax preparer who decides to open up multiple offices, he's screwed. I've seen them fail time and time again. They need this product. So I think TaxDome.
So TaxDome.
So TaxDome is a product for a large CPA firm. It's not competitive this, but so it's a large tax firm. If you're a CPA and you have 6 people working underneath you and you're farming out your tax programs, it tracks where the life cycle is of that. So, I know you got 10 people, where is it? It comes back. It's not the same product. They charge basically $700 a year for their cheap product, all the way up to $1,100 for their most expensive. So there would be dual pricing. If I'm selling it to a single ERO, this is what they pay. If I'm selling it to a service bureau, this is how they pay. And service bureaus, because we've shown the reports to service bureaus, they're dying for these reports.
Okay, so if
You mentioned that if accountants or partners don't have this today, they're dying. But you also said this doesn't exist.
No,
What do they do?
they're dying if they open up multiple offices. I've seen it where they open up an office, they're doing quite well. Then they open up a second office, and that office will close within 1 or 2 years, only because they can't account for what's going on and theft. It truly is theft. Theft is what destroys them. They can't track that a client walks into this office and they're doing the returns on the side. So they need this stuff in order to.
So your product provides an audit trail.
Correct.
Okay. So you're the automated audit trail for someone who has multiple offices, opposed to multiple people in one office.
And in the beginning, it's not going to be linked to tax software, but my existing software is. So phase 2, you'll be able to link in. So you'll see if someone does a return to the software and they don't create a receipt, you'll be able to get notified that, hey, this guy, he filed this return and there's no receipt.
So it's more than an audit trail, though. It sounds like there's some propensity data in here as well, so you can determine the customer lifetime value and how you should engage them.
Right, and there's a lot of market, since it's a CRM, it automatically becomes your marketing tool. Hey, this guy was filed last year in February, 15 days, February 15th, February 1st is when you start really pounding the marketing. Hey, you should make an appointment there. And then afterwards, when you miss them too. So there's a lot of call lists in here.
Are you going to attempt to beta test it at all? Like, give it to a certain office?
That's what I want. One of the guys on one of my team works for Crosslink, and I want him to be able to say, hey, try it out with these clients. So yes, I do want to beta test it.
So I'll ask Dan another question. So you're in the fintech space because you do taxes, according. So from that aspect, if you were to go through an accelerator or talk to somebody that says, hey, I'm in that fintech space and I would want to make an investment, what is your ask? What are you looking for to get from either an accelerator program or somebody who would be writing a check?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
And again, I'm a little behind because I was supposed to meet with that other guy who, again, personal reasons, he's getting a divorce and blah, blah, blah. So now I got that reason, but I'm trying to get it to the guys I'm trying to get on the team actually work with the tax software guys. So they would know how to price this, because they have pricing with other companies that do other software for them.
Gotcha. All right, does anybody else have any questions for Right.
Yeah, we're gonna have to simplify this down. I'm just
I
gonna
know.
talk about the
It's-
pitch
it's-
for right now and not the business.
Right.
Right,
A
yep.
couple of things, one thing, some of the stuff you said would turn off a lot of investors, when you say things like, obviously it's needed because it doesn't exist, lots of things don't exist and we don't need them. Saying you don't have any competitors, your competitor is whatever people are doing now. You know, they're probably okay with it, even if it's terrible. You're gonna have to convince people to do this thing, they're doing nothing, you have to convince them to do something, you know?
Which is
So-
the problem I currently have at that time, but that's all.
Right.
So-
Yeah. Your thing is a lot better, but people are doing nothing right now, and that's really easy,
Yeah,
you know?
doing nothing is easy, right.
So you do have those things that you have to butt up against, even if your thing is way better. Inertia is a powerful force. As far as like the description you gave and the pricing, all that kind of stuff, yeah, we gotta, for a pitch, we gotta distill that down into something way simple. You gotta be able to be like, look, here's the problem, and that takes 30 seconds to explain. Here's my solution, here's how much money you can make. Like that's how the pitch has to go, you know what I mean? This was more of just like a large conversation about everything of how the business works. What you want is if you get those three things down really easily, or really well, people will ask you all the questions about all that other stuff.
Right.
All right.
And my problem is since I'm in this business 21 years, I have too much knowledge and I don't know how to distill it quickly down to.
Yeah,
That's what we're here for.
that's why we have this class. All right,
And it's not a sexy business.
so let's
Not
get,
just-
all right, okay, you're up.
Am I able to, plug in my?
We're not able to use the screen, so you're just gonna go through your screens, just do them verbally.
Gotcha.
So, a quick note on pitches, okay? So we're minus the screens today, okay? When you're giving your pitches, understand people can either listen to you or they can read, okay? So if you're in a room full of people, they're either gonna read what's on the screen or they're gonna listen to you. So if you have a compelling story, obviously you want them to listen to you. If you have a whole lot of words and stuff on the screen, they're gonna start concentrating on that and they're gonna hear blah, 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 blah out of you, okay? So this is a good example of you're doing a pitch. Obviously, we have nothing to look at, so go through your screens, okay, and do your pitch, and make your screens that he's looking at contained within, each slide his verbal pitch, so that once we're done, we can ask those questions. All right.
One thing, if you have a legitimate chart that you can back up with data that goes like this, put that on the screen.
All right.
Hello, everybody. My name is LJ. I'm founder and CEO of Pluto. I'm a recovering student and a recovering college student, and I struggled during college at Clemson. And one thing's for certain, we've all felt it. College math is hard and it's really scary. The big problem is that you have colleges that are failing to keep math students in class. You have teachers that know that their students are struggling but don't know who to help, and you have students that need help but are too afraid to ask for that. This is a big problem that's affecting not only the future of college students, but the future of America and our space and our position in the world when it comes to tech. So Quilno addresses this. Quilno is an assessment platform that allows teachers to quiz and do assessments in the classroom. And they're able to look at where the students are failing, math students are failing math, catch it, address it, and get the students back on track, all without the worry of the students needing to raise hands and film students in the classroom. Unlike other ed tech platforms out there like McGraw Hill, Alex, Top Hat, Formative, big players in the space, all everywhere, the thing that separates Quilno from the others is that we do gather that data that shows where the students are failing, not just if the students are failing. We're able to show that anonymously, allow the students to get feedback from the teacher without them having to ask things. That's a big thing. Students do not want to say no. And Quilno's able to do that easily. It's a SaaS platform. We sell it to college math departments, and we also do have opportunities for teachers to buy individually. It's $300 per course per semester for looking at universities. For when we do a teacher way, it's $300 per year for teaching. We have piloting opportunities available, talk about that, so that students for the teacher, and a web app or an app for the students. So the students answer questions, they just put it down on the paper, they take a picture of it, they upload it, we grade it, and we get it off to the teacher. Right now, we have 3 current spring and fall pilots for this year, 2 at Clemson, 1 at Anderson University up in Indiana. We have additional pilot opportunities that I'm looking to do with Spartanburg Community College, others in the area. And with Anderson University, they're also looking to get grant funding to use CoolNet with their student teachers. And I also do have additional, again, pilot opportunities in the works. Again, this is with Anderson University, Clemson University. I'm also speaking with Southern Wesleyan, Spartanburg Community College, and Grable Tech. Southern Wesleyan is actually interested in using this to do quizzes so that they can upload quizzes really quickly, graded. The teacher doesn't have to worry about scanning it over credit. Right now, our goal is to have 5 universities on board for the first semester, and in year 4, I want to get 25 universities on board, 425 universities on board, and we're looking at an AR of 10.4 million per year. I'm the founder and CEO. I'm looking to build this out with either Worthwhile or other development companies in the upstate, and also utilizing Build Carolina to also develop this and build rapport with those people in Build Carolina so that I get my foot in the door with building an actual team. So anyway, I'm looking for $150K to build out the software so that we can polish it for the uses for Clemson, Anderson, and other universities. That $150K will be going to software development. So I definitely love to build that out and work with you guys to improve college mathematics, improve learning overall, and just improve the United States. So I definitely love to get your questions. Thank you.
When you said it's $300 for a university per teacher though, right? So 2 teachers, that university's paying you $600?
$300 per course per semester, so course section. So if you have a teacher that's teaching 3 courses, that's $900 just for the teacher.
Right, but there's more than 1 teacher in there.
Yes.
So per okay.
So if you were selling it to, say, a Clemson math department, and the math department was paying the bill, would they pay $300 per teacher in the math department?
$300 per course that each teacher is
Okay, so.
So 3 teachers, 3 courses each, that's 9 times, that's 9
Okay,
licenses.
So if I had 10 teachers teaching calculus at Clemson, it would be 10 teachers at $300.
This is a complicated sounding model so far. So
Yes.
if a teacher teaches Math 101 3 times a week, do they pay $300 or $900?
If it's 3 different
3 different classes.
sessions. Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm trying to figure out is how to best make it simple for
Business model?
business.
Okay, you're still working out the price?
Yep, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, pricing. It could be either student headcount, it could be teacher headcount, it could be per course. It could be a flat fee. So that's it comes with time with the testing. So
Right. The only thing, my advice there is, okay, you addressed it and said it was a SaaS application. Have it so that the SaaS application that you're pitching has a defined, revenue structure to it. That's all.
Yeah, you started off pretty strong with that pitch, you actually got into the weeds a bit in the middle and it got confusing. But everyone's gonna ask you about that pricing thing, everybody, because that was confusing. You wanna have it nailed down, you can say like a nailed down thing of like, this is how we're pricing it now. Everybody understands that
Right.
if you're this early, that pricing will probably be different by the time you're later on. Are any of your pilots paid pilots?
not yet.
Because the word paid pilot always sounds better. If you
Yeah,
get
so-
even more, just say including paid pilots, yeah?
Yeah, so, that's another thing that I need to figure out in terms of revenue model. With Anderson or with any university, their budget, the math department's budget needs to go out to the overall department's budget in October. So even though I have a good understanding of what, Anderson University would pay, realistically, they would actually start paying, next year. So, I think moving forward, I'm still trying to figure that out. And let me know if I'm over explaining.
Nope, nope. So on that same note, so my question would be, okay, go to market strategy. Okay, are you going after the universities, going after the individual teachers, 50-50? What's the game?
Yeah, you ended by saying your goal being 25 universities. It shouldn't be a goal, it should be a plan. If it's just a dream, just say every university. But like, if it's, you should say, I have a plan to put this in 25 universities within 18 months. And be prepared to tell me what that plan is.
Right.
And for your own business, you actually should have a plan.
So from that aspect, it's like, okay, I plan on, implementing this in, college universities in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. And then from that demographic, there are, say, 60 colleges that I plan on attending. I want to be able to get 10% that way.
If I can back up just a bit, I took some notes where it says an assessment platform that allows teachers to address, discover, and resolve student knowledge retention issues, and there's a way to help students without students having to raise their hand. I don't know that I fully understand what's the value prop in that. Is it just that a student doesn't want to directly engage, or does it give the teacher an actual return on their investment via time or costs, or what that looks like?
Yeah, it's, a lot of it is, it's a combination of everything. It's a combination of, again, lack of data, or the lack of data from teachers, again, who know that those students are struggling. They're not going to come to office hours because, they're too afraid or something like that, or they're too busy. And they know that they're going to end up going to AI or do AI while doing homework. So it's that, again, that big disconnect between knowing who needs help immediately and not being able to get that data.
But as a teacher or an instructor, even in an organization, am I paying for this service to improve student retention? Or is there an actual ROI in terms of, as a teacher, I'm gonna spend less on manual tasks. I'm gonna get this much time back, I'm gonna have this much better insight into what's going on for that to be invested in.
What does a teacher want to get out of this?
Yeah.
So time saving is definitely a big thing. With SWU last week, one of the big things that the coordinator saw in this was being able to use this for quizzes, automatically graded, and the coordinator doesn't have to manually scan it.
If I'm a teacher or I'm an instructor, we all hear that low pay for educators is a thing. If you're gonna give me more of my time back, then probably willing to spend that $300 per semester. If it means I'm not gonna have to spend 20 hours grading stuff or creating content. I think the pitch to them should be more on that side.
Gotcha.
And that's kind of the value proposition to say. Teachers who are using this and paying $300 will save X number of hours during a semester per class that they're teaching. Therefore, they'll have as $800 time saving based on a teacher making X number of dollars.
And improve student engagement and retention.
Yeah, and I'm sure it was evident, but the clarity on actually knowing this specifically what's the value proposition, because I've identified that that's sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, Jason asked every question I was going to ask. Because it was, you have to convince, for argument's sake, and where I got beat on, but my thing too is, my story is, and you get the same thing, okay? A CPA firm has 100 clients last year, has 110 this year. He says I grew 10%, right? Without my software, he doesn't know if he lost 100 clients and gained 110 new clients, right? That kind of thing. So a teacher, and so I need to prove to them. You need to prove to the teacher, because I'm a little confused. Thinking back on my math teachers, why would they need this? They were always testing me, and then always evaluating me. So you're going in there, and we hate to use the word disruptive, but you're going in there and saying, the way you're teaching is cool, but this would be better. Otherwise, why would I use your product? And I'm only talking to you from my experience, but I had great teachers growing up. They tested us and individually spoke to us and stuff like that. So that's what I'm trying to understand. Like, why would a teacher want it? You have to prove to them why they need it. Just like I got to prove too. Right.
So when you're talking about those great teachers, was that in K-12 or was that in university?
That was
K-12, yeah.
K-12, yeah, that's one-on-one. If you're looking at university, it's only a 50-minute class for only 40 students. There's not that much engagement, it's just literally lecture.
Better remember that.
So, and again, it comes back to the clarity and on understanding that.
Yeah, I didn't go to a big university, I went to St. John's, but I wasn't in classes where there was, I'm not used to that, where there's auditoriums. I never had a classroom.
Oh, Clemson was like that. I had a class that had like over 100 students in it.
Yeah, I've never been in a
Like
class
lecture
like that.
class?
So that's why it's a little foreign to me, this.
I'd say that in K-12, there's more opportunities for the teacher to connect one-on-one with the student, so the student feels more comfortable. But when you get into that college university setting, those teachers, the students don't really feel like the teachers are peers, so they don't get exactly connect.
Right.
And then that's when the teachers get into the situations where nobody is asking a question. They know that people need help, but they just, nobody's saying anything. Next thing you know.
That explains it very well.
Do you have anyone that's beta testing, giving you feedback, like suggestions on how to find what it is that you're, what you're trying to do, who you're trying to reach?
Yes, so we just started the pilot at Anderson University last Friday. There was a little bit of a bug that I had to work on this weekend, so hopefully we'll be able to start doing that again this week. So I'll be getting feedback from Professor there at Anderson. In addition, I will be doing small pilots with Clemson as well, so we'll be getting that. In the spring, we did 2 pilots, one in high school in Charlotte and one at Tri-County Tech. And the big feedback from that was the old way we were getting answers from students was way too hard. And it ended up not getting the teachers what they needed to get. So I'm working on polishing the program. Did I overexplain that?
Yep.
No?
Okay.
Yep,
All
as
right.
far as your pitch goes, I'll just give you this one thing. Start off good, good description of what the problem is, kind of what the solution is, then you got complicated. Like simplify that down. And then you describe what sounds like a big market, $200 per course, but eventually you're gonna wanna do some math and tell us how big that market actually is too. Overall, how about it?
Thank you.
All right. We're only gonna have time to go through the 2 this week, so between now and next week, see, everybody, Loom, okay, I'm gonna hound everybody this week. You can create a Loom account for free and have the ability to film Loom videos up to 5 minutes. Nobody's pitch should be more than 5 minutes, okay? Ideally, you should be able to pitch your 10, 11 slides literally within 3, okay? So, everybody is going to create a Loom video and put it into the community, okay? If you do not accomplish that between now and next Tuesday, everybody who doesn't accomplish that is going to benefit from my military experience in running PT. If you don't know what PT is, you need to Google it, okay? I would advise you not to eat a heavy breakfast in the morning if you don't complete this test, okay? All right, yes, sir.
I have a question. How crazy is it in these developments of the apps? Whereas I'm actually thinking of developing the simple app, but then having a consulting side business for that, for all the customizations for individual clients.
There's nothing wrong with that. Coming up with that, it's one of those things where it's like, I joke around with everybody, and I said, I think this last week, that's the roadmap, okay? So if you're having that half-hour, 45-minute hour discussion with someone who's investing in your platform, and they go, great, I see where you're gonna go get your first $10,000 a month, $100,000 a month, $100,000 in annual recurring revenue, where do you go from here? And then that's where you go, well, in that, I would like to introduce this, there's a consulting piece, so on and so forth. That way, if you're looking to get and have partners that are in there, if a VC is looking at making an investment with you because they see the possibility of those things, you having that type of knowledge will make them more inclined to write that check or to partner up with you. So
I'll tell you, in one of the startups that I'm working with right now, we're actually using that approach to help us get our MVP moving, because it's lower risk to us having someone there who's knowledgeable about the product, the tools, the capabilities, the customer set, what they're doing, lowers our risk tremendously while we're building things out. Because when someone used to tell me one all hell crew and a whole bunch of attaboys, you can do it really, really good, but then when you make one mistake and it costs somebody $1 million, word spreads really quickly. So sometimes that extra handling helps.
And kind of like in one of the instances that we're currently working on, in the beginning, you're gonna have a whole lot of white gloved approach dealing with people. You know, you're gonna do a lot of this stuff manually, get the processes done, documented so that you know what you're doing before you start trying to slowly automate and implement stuff, theoretically with AI. But from that standpoint, that consultative approach when you're first starting it, is going to help you not create something that's automated, that's clunky, that has got problems on the back end. So. All right, has anybody got anything else? Okay, so Founder Friday at the pilot office. Be there, invite people, come there. Get with Lee, graduation, so you know everything about it. I don't want to hear the week of graduation, oh my God, I forgot to mow my lawn or wash my dishes, or, bring a clean shirt. Okay. Dan, do you want to tell what the location is and a little bit about it?
We have secured the United Community Bank headquarters on the other side of the falls, right there by the Green Book Inn, brand new, beautiful HQ for UCB. They've been generous enough to let us use their facility. So we'll be meeting there, state-of-the-art presentation room, and we'll have some refreshments provided as well. So look forward to it.
Other thing, engagements, okay? People need to be posting about progress, building, you're not building in secret, build out in front of everybody else, talk about it on LinkedIn, okay? Start developing that traction now, okay? One of the things is people who are going after LPs that are investing in their funds are looking for opportunities. You are not an opportunity unless they know you exist, okay? One of the whole reasons for making this program is so that people know that you exist, know that you're working hard, whether or not you're succeeding or failing is, a subject of a whole nother course. That's what you want to be doing, okay? And then you got, okay? Okay. All right, you guys have a great week, get after it, we'll see everybody next Tuesday.
No, we'll see you Friday night.
Oh, Friday night,
Friday.
sorry. See you Friday night at the pilot office.